Good morning, everyone. Oh, my hair looks crazy. We are going to be running a little bit late. I'm still having to print some stuff and there are some people that are on their way. But I just wanted to let you guys know it'll maybe be about 5 minutes. Okay, good morning, guys. Sorry, I had to make copies for the people that were in-house today. We are going to be having a lot of fun. So if you are on, please turn your cameras on. And so we are talking about, welcome to 3612.3. So 3612.3 means 36 transactions in 12 months with 3 hours of lead gen every day. So we are going to start. I'm going to open up the PowerPoint with this. If we have questions, please jump in. There are more of you online than there are in person. So feel free. This is going to be an interactive. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of time to do your items because there will be some homework that will be given you today, as well as in-class stuff. So please follow along. Please. Do we not have the intro? I just printed the wrong one. So we're just talking about the power of one today, the introduction. So we are going to go ahead and get started. So if my PowerPoint works, there we go. So the power of one by Gary Keller, we're going to be talking about what 3612.3 is today. We're going to be talking about the power of one by Gary Keller, the 9 myths and truths of lead generation, and what the 3612.3 challenge actually is. So again, it's 36 transactions in 12 months with 3 hours of lead generation. Phil, if you have any questions, just feel free to jump in. We're also going to be talking about the real estate productivity roller coaster, which a lot of people feel for quite some time until they get settled in the industry. To be wired to win, you must be wired for leads. And what exactly that means you need, if you want to get through the finish line, you have to have leads to even start the race. And then we're going to talk about the training, the implementation, and accountability for all those things above, and then putting it all together. So there's a lot we're going over today, and we'll go from there. So ground rules, of course, arrive on time, and my apologies for that one. I was running 5 minutes late, but I wanted to make sure we had everything up and running. Thanks, Phil. We're going to form groups quickly, which right now we're not going to be doing a lot of that since we have most of the people online. Be fully present, which is why I asked you guys to turn your screens on so I can see everybody's lovely face during this whole thing. Be respectful and participate, and respect the different learning styles, help each other, respect confidentiality, and have fun with this. There's going to be a lot of stuff in 3612.3 that we're going to go through that is very personal. It's similar, but not similar to if you've ever taken bold. It's a step before bold, but it's a lot of looking inside before you figure out what you're doing in the industry. So accountability methods, a lot of this too is going to jump into the first step. But the accountability methods, your number one thing in real estate that you want to do is obviously you want to lead gen. So to be able to lead gen, you need to have leads and an action plan to get those leads to come in. Then the second step is actually having a partner or a program. So do you have a specific time every day that you lead generate? Do you have somebody that you talk to that you said, hey, I did this many calls today. I did this many at the open house. What does that look like for you? Do you do better with accountability of somebody else? Do you hold yourself to a high enough accountability that you feel that if you had somebody else that it would be too much? Or is somebody else the perfect person to push you through onto that next step? So the first step is to set your goals. So what are your goals? We are in 3612.3, so obviously a goal should probably be 36 transactions, right? And then we need to figure out, so you need to figure out what your goals are. Then you need to figure out what the steps and the actions are to be able to get those goals. We need to then measure the results. That's where the accountability comes in. Then evaluate the process and make any adjustments that you see to be able to get back to your goals. So it's a whole circle. It's that accountability feedback loop. So at any point, if any part of that loop is broken, that means you're not going to get to your goals. So we have to set the goals. You have to know how to get to the goals. You have to measure your results. Are you actually doing the activities that are going to set you to the goals? Then you have to look back and evaluate that, because even if you measure them and you're not looking at them, you might not know that your measurements, your results are not the same as what you need to do. Then you make adjustments between those if you see anything different, and again, set your goals. So this is a kind of cool loop that you want to keep. I have it on my wall. Okay. So why are we here? Why don't you guys online step in, and why did you come today? Anybody? What was the whole goal of showing up today to 3612-3?
I'll go ahead and jump in. I guess just to reassure what I'm doing is correct, and just kind of, develop systems. What I'm really trying to gain from this is develop and implement systems to help me stay on top of this, but to also alleviate me, if I'm under contract and I feel overwhelmed, focusing on transactions and not doing my prospecting.
Yeah.
I've noticed that, like, when I get really involved during the summer, that, I get so overwhelmed with deals that I'm under contract with, that next thing you know, I haven't done my prospecting. And then 2 months out, it's like, there's no business. So
that is a very typical issue that a lot of people have jumping into this. We call it the roller coaster, real estate roller coaster. It never ends. And I will say, even being in the industry for 4 years, I still feel it. So it's got to be something that you've got to be okay with and figure out how you are okay with it. So this should help. And I think the next couple classes too will be really good for that.
Sitting in there together in the team room, watching it, which is good, but they're all on their fucking phones. As soon as I walk in, they put it down.
Hey, Lindsay. Lindsay, can you, there you go. Anybody else want to step in and say why they've come today? Why they're showing up?
Yeah, to get off the roller coaster and
Okay.
to make it more of a consistent business.
Okay. More consistency. That's a big theme that runs through everything. So what is the commitment in real estate? Your one thing that you have to do every day is your lead generation. If you don't do that lead generation, you are never going to get off that roller coaster. Even with everything else going on, you need to bunker yourself in your office or wherever you work and say, okay, I am going for the next hour to contact people that I've not spoken to before. So we're talking a little bit about lead generation, but who actually knows what lead generation is? Go ahead, Phil.
Process of probably sourcing the leads.
Okay, the process of sourcing the lead into an organized method. That's lead generation.
Well, that's generating the actual contacts.
Okay.
So not the prospect part, it's like the first step.
Okay, so prospecting, that's the word you used for it. So lead generation is prospecting.
I consider lead generation lead generation. I'm considering, like, you generate leads, but you don't prospect them, you're still not, they're worthless.
Yeah, correct.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
So lead generation is the process of getting those leads
Acquiring
in,
them, finding
acquiring
resources,
them. Yep.
You
You,
actually reach out to them, organized way.
there you go.
Prepping that. That's what my definition.
Yep. So you've broken it down a little bit deeper into the lead generation and the prospecting as two separate things. For this class, the lead generation is going to be both of those.
Okay.
Just so you're aware. But yes, you are very much, when it says lead generation for you, it's more of a prospecting. Like, you want to call and talk to those people that you've never met before. So again, we're saying 36-12-3 is 36 transactions, 12 months with 3 hours a day of lead generation. So lead generation to different people is different things. So an open house could be lead generation, but you have to know your numbers. So that's where, going back to the circle, accountability, what are the activities that will get you to the goals? So do you know how many people you have to call to be able to have somebody pick up, to have somebody close? So if you're doing 3 hours of an open house, is that getting you the numbers that you need to be able to have somebody close? Does that count? So you kind of have to look at it that way too. So 3 hours every day, workday on lead generation. So that's good if you're actually lead generating. So if you do an open house and nobody shows up, that's technically not lead generation. I think about it that way too. Okay. Any questions about this before we move on? So here is the course map for the 36-12-3. So the very first thing, what we're doing today is the power of one. So you are one. You are what is going to be able to get you to the top of living your goals. So the first one, which is happening on Thursday, is validity and positioning. So you want to make sure that your clients feel that you are valid to do what you are doing. With that being said, you also need to position yourself to be in front of those clients and position yourself to get the validity that you'll be seen by other people. Nowadays, right now, Facebook is really good. LinkedIn is really good for doing those exact things. The validity and positioning are great, but if you have the validity and the positioning, but you aren't doing the prospecting, you're not going to get to that next step. So this is all of the steps. So we have the introduction today, we have validity and positioning. Next Tuesday is prospecting and the importance of it. Number 3 is the marketing. 4 is leveraging a database. And then we step into the different ways of lead generation. So working with METs, farming, open houses for sale by owners and expireds, agent referrals, and then those all lead to lead conversion. Once you get the lead conversion, you're good to go. They're under contract. So they're going to close at some point and you are living your goals. So it's very much of a building block, one on the other. So it's good if you guys can only hit 1 or 2 of them. That's better than nothing. But just remember that you have to build the base. You can't take the next step if there's no step that you're standing on. Okay. So I want you guys each to write down what would make this a great training, this whole program, or just today, depending on what you're planning on doing. What would make this worthwhile to actually do? Go ahead and write it down, and I'll give you guys a minute or 2, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, does anybody have, what would make this 36-12-3, this 12 session class, what would make it worth it to come? Anybody want to jump in?
I'd love to get some advice on some tried and true strategies for converting leads into appointments.
Okay.
That's the big step I'm looking at.
Okay. That comes a little bit later, but that's good. I mean, that's a good goal to be trying to achieve. Anybody else?
Yeah, I had the examples, some
Examples.
but also, more, I can see here the whole participation and even some role playing.
Okay.
Working out, some different situations, some different examples.
What you guys put into this is what you'll get out of it. So if you come, you show up, you participate, you're going to get more out of it than what you did if you just turn it on, because it's not going to be the same as listening into the background. This is a very interactive course all the way through. So something that I haven't heard from anybody yet is we're about to go through a large shift in the market. So this is a very good time to be doing this, to be getting back to the basics. So this is just get back to the basics, get rid of all the fluff, move forward, see what it takes. So anybody else before we move on?
A little better.
Basics. Okay. Okay, The Power of One. The Power of One by Gary Keller The power of one achievement formula is based on the principles of the greatest leverage and the timeless truths. One thing begets another. So to be able to get your achievement, you need leverage and you need time. Timeless truth, one thing begets another. I don't exactly know what this is. Do you know what this is, Cindy? Okay, we're just gonna go on. Okay, so this is more of what I know as the greatest truth. So 80% of the things you do actually don't matter. So the top 20% of the things that you do get you 80% of your results. So you need to figure out over your time, and that's where it goes back to that accountability circle that we had earlier. What are the top 20% of the things that you do every day that gets you the business? Is that the TC work that you have to do? Is that the prospecting? Is that the lead generation? Or is that sitting in an open house? Is it scrolling the web trying to find out how to do something or what checklist you need for the day? You need to figure out how you're using your time and what activities are actually worth your time to be doing during the day to be able to receive those 80% results. So when you focus on activities that really matter, success will increase significantly. So for those people that are part-time, you find that they do, if they really focus, they do really well because the time that they have to work, they can't just dawdle it away. They have to be doing something specific. They have to be doing something to get those results. So what do you guys think those results are? What are the 20% activities over the 80% activities that actually result in the 80% of results that you get? Lead generation, lead follow-up, anybody else? Lead conversion. So for me, I'll go a little bit deeper in that. And for me, it's being in front of people. So I do a lot of networking. I am out visiting people. I am part of networking groups. If I can get in front of people, people trust, and I am the person that they come to ask questions. So I find that 20% of the activities, part of that has to be networking, because if I don't network, I have nobody to follow up with. So remember that it's the 20-80 principle. That's what they changed it to. 20-80 principle, the power of one. Anybody else know something that they don't do? No, know something that they do that's not part of their 20%. What are you doing on a daily basis that you shouldn't be doing?
Wrapped up in checking emails and
Checking emails, that's
on
a
the internet.
big one.
Yeah.
Internet, Facebook. Fires, TC work, yeah. Fires. Anybody else? Okay. So once you master one thing and make it achieving mastering the next related thing easier. So once you master one thing, it makes achieving mastery of the next related thing easier. So when you get really deep into lead generation, it means that your lead generation, I cannot talk today. When you are lead generating, it means that you're doing well with that, you're mastering that. That means the next thing that you most likely will master is probably your lead conversion. Because once you talk to so many people over and over, it becomes habit of what to say when they say something. So by doing the right thing first, you create momentum in your life and in your business. Again, that first step. What is that first step that you have to do to get the 80% of results? This truth explains why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. If you continue doing the same thing over and over again, you're going to get the same results. So if those things are your top 20%, then 80% of what's going to happen is a positive. If those things that you continue to do are in the lower 80%, like checking your emails, scrolling Facebook, you're most likely not going to get the results that you want, and it's going to continue to happen year over year. Power of one applied to dominoes, or in this case, bowling. If you hit the one pin and you stack it right, everything else falls into place. Same with dominoes, everything else falls. what's under the hood of a great real estate career that keeps it successfully running and running and running. This PowerPoint is very good because it gives you guys the answers. So, good morning. Lead generation, I'll take those for Thursday, Bob. Lead generation is the one thing that you have to continue to do to be able to keep your business running. If you don't have any leads, your business is not going to be doing anything, period. Period. Nothing is going to happen. So what's under the hood of a car? Can a car run without an engine? Probably not. So that means that your engine for your real estate business is lead generation. If you're lead generating, your car is going to continue to run and move forward. So how does the power of one, the 80-20 principle, relate to lead generation 36-12-3? So as you see here, you get your goal. So this goes back to our accountability circle that we had at the beginning. Find your goal, find the activities that you need to do it, start tracking the activities, and then you look back and make sure that your activities are actually reaching your goal. So your one goal for this class is 36 transactions in 12 months. The way that you're going to get there is by lead generating, and you have to do that for 3 hours every day. If this course helps you establish the one habit, 3 hours of lead generation every day, then it will likely be the most important real estate course you'll ever take. So again, the basis for everything, the foundation, is lead generation. If you lead generate 3 hours every workday, you'll end up with 36 transactions a year. Does anybody feel like that's impossible? No? Good. Seeing head shakes. Yep. Discipline. Discipline, time blocking, consistency. Power of one. Time over task takes time on task over time. So if you build it up, your brain, it's like a rubber band. If you keep stretching the rubber band, it gets stretchier and stretchier, and you can do more and more. So if you start off with 1 hour a day and it turns into an hour and a half, then it turns into 2 hours, you're able to handle it for longer. So the time on task over time, it gets easier to do so. So what's the deciding factor in becoming the best? Talent, intelligence, motivation, personality? No, it's the effort. It's the effort that you put into it. Consistent time put on a specific task over an extended period of time will lead to the results that you're looking for. So it's not about being flashy. It's not about finding the next big thing. It's not about trying to figure out where your leads are coming from. It's about reaching out and talking to them and just doing the work. You find a lot of times the top agents, you talk to them and you're like, oh my God, they're not very smart. And it's not that they, there are some out there that, and I'm not saying anything about anybody here, but like, you're like, how did they get to where they are? How did that happen? They got consistent with boredom. Lead generation is boring. It is so boring. I have a hard time with it. But if you stick with the boredom and get comfortable in boredom, then you're going to do well. It's not about next big thing. It's not about, that's the handout for Thursday.
Oh,
Yeah.
gotcha.
For Thursday, you're going to hold it.
Okay. I'll be ready for Thursday.
So you just have to be bored in the consistency. Get used to doing the same thing over and over. If you do the same thing over and over and over and over for 12 months, you're going to get the results because you're going to start figuring out how to talk to people, how to pick up the phone and answer, and you're going to stop allowing people to interrupt that time. So it's the time on task over time that truly matters. 36-12-3 is your formula for success. 3 is the most important number. Can somebody tell me why? That's your foundation. Your 3 hours, if you do your 3 hours for 12 months, you will receive the 36 transactions. So 3 is the most important number. Commit to 3 hours of lead generation a day. So talk to me here. Do you think that lead generation for 3 hours has to be at the same time? Does it have to be 3 hours straight. No, right? So it can be an hour in the morning, an hour at lunch, an hour in the evening. Like if you go to your kids' sporting events, or if you work a second job and you talk to people while you're there, that's lead generation. You have to just look back. It's not about the time, it's about the results that you receive in those times. So that's when you go back to the accountability circle, which I'll show those of you that came in late. I'll show you what that is at the beginning. You have to make sure that the activities are actually netting you the results that you're looking for. So we have the goal, the results that are going to take to get that goal. Then you have to actually do it. So then you have to make sure that what you're doing is actually leading you to the results, which is leading you to the goal. So it's a whole accountability, making sure that what you're doing is actually succeeding. Commitment to the single most important business outcome and the #1 priority for any real estate agent: buyer and seller leads. So that's your lead generation. Okay. The more people you talk to, the more you're going to be out there, and the more people are actually going to come to you to start understanding what's going on. So the myths and truths about lead generation, these are quite interesting. So there are a few tightly held misconceptions about lead generations that we need to put behind us. One is not all leads are good leads. What does that mean? What is a good lead? What is a bad lead? Why would we consider something not a good lead? Very good.
I feel like people think these are usually bad when they're older, only when the time they come in is like past a certain point, which is, you know,
Correct.
age of lead, I guess.
There are no bad leads in real estate. People just think they're stale. Is stale bread bad? There you go. Exactly. So stale bread can be croutons. So it depends on what you're looking at. What are you expecting out of those leads? Like a hot lead that's a referral from a sphere is probably going to be a better lead than a lead that you get online. Your expectations are different for the different leads. Doesn't mean that they're good or bad leads. Just means that you're going to have to do a little bit more work with some of them. Does anybody know how many times on average you have to touch one lead to be able to close it? No. Close. It's anybody online before I shoot it out? NAR says that you have to call somebody 12 times before they will actually answer the phone and talk to you. Yep, 12 times. Yeah.
I have a guy that went out to their house over 10 years ago. He and his wife were divorcing. Did CMA, chatted with him, and he's just been on a drip campaign, my little quarterly email or newsletter. And so he's getting ready to list in 2 weeks.
So 10 years ago, she had a lead from 10 years ago. She did a listing appointment too. And he's listing in 2 weeks from a listing appointment 10 years ago. So it's important to remember that all leads are good leads. Doesn't matter. So that's when we talk about jumping into command, since I know command, they tell you to clean up your database. That doesn't mean get rid of the people that you haven't talked to. That means label them the appropriate way. You don't ever want to delete people out of your database unless you don't want to deal with them. It's a good way of putting it. Okay. So not all leads are good leads. That is a myth. Every lead that you receive, and a lead, let's talk about what a lead is too, because we haven't talked about that. A lead is somebody that you have their contact information, but have not spoken to them yet. Okay. So lead is somebody that you have their contact information, but have yet to speak to. If that's an email, if that's a phone number, if that's a physical address, those are all leads. Myth number 2, lead generation is really hard. Anybody else laughing? It's all in your head. It's boring. So lead generation is really simple and easy. So be careful that you don't confuse effort with enjoyment. Lead generation is boring. Get used to the boredom. This industry is super boring, even though that's not what everybody tells you. Myth number 3, I'm too busy. I don't have time. Where is your car going if you don't have an engine? Right? We talked about how lead generation is your engine in your car. You've got to have it running to be able to be moving forward. So if you want to move forward, you need to be lead generating. So if you say you're too busy, that means that you're probably not in real estate. Okay. Myth number 4, I don't have to lead generate. If I do a good job, people will just come to me. Now, how is that a myth? It might be good in this industry right now, in the market right now. People just drop in. People want to sell their houses. People want to buy their houses. But what happens when it shifts? What happens when those people aren't there anymore and you have to go searching for them? That rubber band that we talked about has gotten very tiny and you're not used to it anymore and you're going to have to start stretching it out. So the smaller your rubber band is, the smaller your business is. You do have to lead generate. Some people will find you, but not enough or soon enough. So again, you've got to make the engine run. Myth 5, I can't lead generate because I don't know what to do and I don't know what to say. Who said that before? Because I know I have when I first started. I was like, I have all these numbers, but why would I call them? I don't know how to talk to them. Right? Anybody else said that? Again, it goes back to the task on time over time. Time on task over time. Just keep doing it. It doesn't matter. Best thing that somebody ever told me was it doesn't matter what somebody tells you unless you expect them to be at your wedding or your funeral. Doesn't matter what they tell you. Doesn't matter if you get cussed out over the phone because most likely that person's not going to be at your wedding and not at your funeral. So what does it matter to you? Don't allow those people to knock you down when they have no say in your life whatsoever. Okay. So I can't lead generate because I don't know what to do and I don't know what to say. So what? Just call them. Pick up the phone and call. Okay. Myth number 6, I don't need to lead generate. I have enough business. Is that something that we've heard of in this market right now? Too busy. I just can't get too much business. I don't do any lead generation. We're shaking our head out here. What did we talk about with the engine? If you don't have an engine, you're not going anywhere. Lead generation is your engine. You just need to start stretching the rubber band that is your engine, figuring out how far it can go. Are you really good at lead generation? Then that probably means your rubber band's really big, you have a really big motor, and you're going to go really far places. There is never such thing as too much business. If you have too much business and you're bringing this to our attention, that probably means that we need to get you some sort of leverage. We need to help you find a buyer's agent, an admin, a TC, something to help you with all of this. Okay, myth number 7. I don't have anyone to help me do everything that must be done. When you get enough of the kinds of leads that turn into closing, you will be afforded all the help you'll need. So the first step, this goes back to the very basics of Elbow with Keller Williams. So you have your 4 major bases. The very first or the 4th one is your org chart. So you're looking at your org chart. The first one is a single agent that does everything. Once you get too busy to be doing everything anymore, you need to hire a TC. That's level 2. TC, you get too busy for just a TC, you hire a part-time admin. That's still level 2. There are 7 levels. So once the part-time admin has enough to do, you hire a full-time admin. Cyberbacker's in there somewhere if you want a cyberbacker. Once you have too much work for that one admin to be doing and you're still too busy and you still don't have enough leverage, you hire another admin. You have all these back office people that are helping you do the things that you don't want to do. Then once that happens, then you can start looking at another agent to help you with your time out and about and talking to people. So when you get enough of the kind of leads that turn into closings, you will be able to afford help, the help that you need. So let your business roll with where you need and what help you need. Myth number 8, I don't have the money to lead generate. I've heard that from a lot of people. Does it take money to lead generate? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but then you can go to an open house. Stand on the street corner with a sign. Lead generation does not cost any money. There are two different things. There's prospecting and there's marketing. So lead generation consists of two separate, prospecting and marketing. Marketing does cost money, but marketing is not the only form of lead generation. You also have prospecting. So prospecting is free lead generation. It's the yellow pages, yellow book, yellow pages, yellow pages. Don't laugh at me. Yellow pages. It's Remine on Bright. It's things that you don't have to put any money in. Marketing, on the other hand, is money. So you have to put in flyers, mailers, those kind of things cost money. If you guys have any questions about that, we have a whole list, side-by-side list of things that are prospecting versus marketing. Happy to provide that if you're interested. Last myth, I can't lead generate because I'm not a natural lead generator. Who likes to say they don't like talking on the phone?
I don't like talking with them, honestly.
I hate talking on the phone.
I'd rather talk to leads than my friends.
That's exactly. how it
Yes.
is. Like, if it's gonna lead to something, literally lead to something, then yeah, I'm there for it. But like, if it's just for us to like shoot the shit, I'm not. Yeah.
I have friends and family that will call me on the phone. I'll be like, why did you call me? What is this accomplishing? I don't want to be on the phone anymore. So it's not about not being a natural lead generator. A lot of real estate agents, surprisingly, are introverts. Yeah, introverts. So those people don't like to go out and do stuff, but they have overcome their issues because they realize that they have to lead generate. They have to be boring. Lead generation is boring. You have to get used to the boring. Time over on task over time. It's just a matter of getting used to it. It's change. Change is good. So no one is truly a natural lead generator. Everyone must master the skill. It goes back to the rubber band. How big do you want your rubber band to be? Because if it's tiny, it's like that mini violin that everybody plays for each other, then you're not going to do well. And that's your lead generation tool. So if you stretch that rubber band is going to play that engine, and that engine's going to go a lot farther than if it's small. Okay. Any questions about these myths and truths? Are there any that you guys think or have had in your head that we haven't gone over? Because there are a lot of them out there. No? Quiet? Crickets? No? Phil's giving a sigh. Okay. So we're going to jump into the challenges. Your challenge this year, starting today. So today is the 21st of June. So by the 21st of June next year, if you follow through with what we give you in this class, you should have 36 transactions complete. How many of you, by show of hands online, think that that is actually a possibility? Good. Good. Okay. So when's everybody going to do their 3 hours? Yeah. You're so quiet online, guys. What can I spend 3 hours doing every day that will do more to build my business than lead generation? So this goes back, what forms of lead generation do you like? Because I know a lot of people don't like telemarketing. Go ahead. Networking events. Yeah. Yeah. That's perfect. Perfect form of lead generation. Phil, what's your favorite lead generation?
I mean, probably call on past clients.
Past clients. That's a great form of lead generation.
That's just,
I'm trying to repeat what they say.
It's multiple points too.
Okay, multiple points of everything. Do you know yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much just Phil has a like program for us, but also like I'll just go out to like bars or basketball court. I give
Bars
my
or
card to
basketball court.
whoever,
See?
And anyone I talk to, I'll give my card to.
Card handout anytime. Yep, that's a
And
great
just
thing.
Let them know what I'm doing, and 9 times out of 10, they're interested and want to talk back anyways, so.
And that's a perfect example. You're talking to strangers, and he just said 9 out of 10 times they want to talk back to you and have a conversation about it. Real estate's a fun thing to talk about. People like to talk about it.
Yeah, I was at the dentist yesterday.
Dentist. There you go. Doctors, dentists.
Between I gave out 3 cards.
Mindy, you have anything? What's your favorite?
I like belly to belly, eyeball to eyeball.
Belly to belly, eyeball to eyeball in front of people. And I agree with that. I'm the same way. So a lot of my business comes from my sphere and the activities that I do outside of work. So horseback riding, networking, anything like that. So anybody online want to share?
Okay, I'm on. Yeah, mine is at my gym.
Jim,
Networking, again, face to face. I've gone to the same YWCA since, I don't know, since I was 14. So I've seen a lot of people. And then, we just,
Perfect.
it's like a little family in there, and we just talk, when I get the chance now that, I'm in real estate and talk, they ask. And it's always, like you said, it's always, a room for conversation when it comes to real estate.
Yep. Everybody likes to talk about real estate because there's always something going on. Anybody else want to share? Okay. Yeah, let's break it down again. 36, 12, 3. Don't settle for average. You want to be extraordinary. The only way to not be average is not have an average real estate career is consistently decide not to. Consciously decide not to. You want to be very specific in what you're doing. So that's why we always talk about time blocking. Time blocking is important. Now you're finding out time blocking is important because it's used to run the engine and stretch the rubber band that is going to let your business be timeless. 36 transactions. Make money to be profitable, build a solid foundation for your career, help family buy and sell, know what lead generation activities you do well and which you need to work on. So what they always tell us is they tell us that you need top 5 lead generation activities, 3 of which is where majority of your business comes from. The following 2 are something that you can constantly switch in and out. So if you get a lot of your business from Sphere, open houses and networking events, you should have 2 other forms of lead generation that you do that if one of these 3 falls apart and goes dry, then those will pop up into it and most likely do better for you. That way you always have a bench. You always want that bench. So you need 5 top lead generations forms, 3 that are bringing you 80% of your business, and the bottom 2 are generally bringing you the bottom 20%. So you need to figure out what of those lead generation activities what are your top 5? And then you want to establish your skills and your habits to be able to achieve those lead generation activities, stretch that rubber band, gain the respect and recognition. So I think that goes back to Facebook a little bit. Facebook allows us to have that respect and that recognition that I don't think they did before online social media was so big. So TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, what was the other one that was Clubhouse for a while was going strong. And then your first goal to be able to grow your business more is to earn the money and right to hire an executive assistant. Okay. So I want to do a little exercise here. What does 36 transactions actually mean to you? So how many of you know your average commission? Does anybody know their average commission? Does anybody know the average sales price in York County or Adams County? Yeah, I thought it was 210. So the average commission in York County is $5,600. Multiply 5,600 by 36. What's that get you? Who has that number? I would really like some participation online. There we go. Kristen, what would that mean to have $200,000? What would that mean for you?
It would mean a lot to my family. But then also for the business to be able to grow it, for the assistant that I could hire to build even more connections for me for with the business.
Okay. What would it do for you and your family? What would you guys be able to do with $200,000?
Go on more vacations for family time, maybe involve my kids in more activities that they want to do, like sporting events, get a pool for their summer enjoyment, things like that.
There you go. And what do you think by having your kids do more sporting events? What's that going to do for your business?
More connections, more networking.
Isn't it funny how that happens?
Yeah.
So by doing the things that you want to do and by having the money to allow you to do those things that you want to do, it will just continue to grow your business. And then you will have that time for the executive assistant. Somebody over here said to buy a house. It'll allow you to buy a house. Yep. Invest in real estate, have that foundation for wealth, because the real estate is truly that foundation of wealth. Anybody else want to share? Because this is pretty big. Like $200,000 is a lot of money, guys. That's a lot of money, especially for our area where the average salary is like 43,000.
And Charizard first edition.
I don't even know what that is.
I'm making a joke.
Okay. Phil wants a PS3 something Charizard. Juan, you want to share?
Oh, no, I was just laughing on Phil's comment. I know what that is.
Okay. Okay. So the time, 12 months. Growing a strong, successful business usually takes a little bit of time. It amazes me how many people think that they can come into real estate, start a business, and then they're out of it in 3 months. How long do you guys think the average business, like typical business, not real estate, how long do you think that normally takes to get up and running and profitable? So, oh, here's somebody saying something. For a
For
business,
about 2 years.
5 years. So, yep. So actually for a business to start becoming profitable is 3 years, and most businesses fail before 5 years. So it amazes me when people get their license, they put all this money into real estate and then 3 months later say, nope, hands up, I'm done. I'm not making any money. I kind of am like, are you kidding? Like, you haven't even gotten to your first year yet. Now, with that being said, do those people actually consider real estate as a business?
Probably not.
No, they're not thinking about themselves as being business owners. It's a hobby. Yeah, that's exactly it. So what's the difference between a hobby and a business? Mhm. What else? More physical,
Business has to be, yeah.
profitable. But what if you're not profitable for the first 3 years? But the average business isn't profitable in the first 3 years of business. Phil's confused.
Don't make money.
Yeah. So a business, you have to act like you are a business owner. You have to do the activities to make sure that you are a business owner. That's your lead generation. That's making sure that you have an LLC. That's treating it like you have to pay taxes off it and keeping your funds separate. This is not something that goes straight into your business account because you babysit. Not like a babysitting company or I don't know what else is out there. I don't know, all that kind of stuff. So consistent focus and lead generation can get you to 36 transactions. This is only the first of 12 classes. This is probably the most boring of all of them, actually. Brad Korn, when you fumble, don't just drop the whole thing and quit. Get organized and stay in with it. So this is something that's important right now in the market that we are seeing, because we're seeing a lot of transactions when they go under contract actually terminate. We're seeing a more terminate and go to remediation, mediation. There's a lot of stuff that's happening. And if you see this as a hobby, you're most likely going to throw your hands up and be like, I'm done. Don't have to deal with it. I'm done. I'm never doing this again. But actually, in reality, that's what our business is. Our business is the people business. We have to make sure and know how to talk to people. So that way, when there is a fumble, when we do have an appraisal cut, we're not going to drop everything. We're not going to drop all our other transactions. We're not going to drop all our other clients to handle this appraisal cut. And then when the appraisal cut doesn't work out and you terminate, you've lost everything. And then you just throw your hands up and quit. You have to know how to juggle. You need to know how to handle everything that you have going on. I equate it a lot of times to juggling. How many balls do you have in the air right now? How many clients are you currently working with? How many buyers? How many sellers? How many people under contract? Most of us are handling probably a dozen balls being juggled at the same time. Do you think everybody can do that? It takes a special person to be able to stay organized and actually do that. But juggling's boring. Unless you're juggling chainsaws. It's the same thing. Time on task over time. I do know how to juggle. Do you? No? It's the same thing. Yeah.
I don't know how to juggle, so my opinion really shouldn't.
It's the same thing over time. Juggling is the same thing, doing the same thing, right? Once you get used to what you're doing, do you have to focus on it anymore? But that's the whole point of it, though. Juggling gets boring. If you're doing it for 6 hours a day, are you going to get bored with it?
You're right.
Yeah. If you do it for 3 minutes, it's not going to be boring because you're not used to that rubber band, stretching the rubber band to get it bigger. But you also aren't going to be a professional juggler if you only juggle for three minutes every day. So this is a really good graph to show you exactly what your business is looking like and what most people think is going to happen. So time on task will net you the results. Most people think the time and results are the same thing, and that the more time you put into it, the bigger results that you get. Realistically, you see the line on here. Most people have to take off. And that's why we tell people that most of the time, it's 6 months until you get your first closing, 6 to 8 months. The market that we've been having, people are getting under contract super quick in their first couple things. But do you think that if you get under contract and you don't have the time on task, that you're going to feel comfortable once this market changes? You're going to have to continue to do the time on task to be able to get more people under contract. It's going to start taking us longer to get people under contract. You're going to start working with your clients more to be able to get the same results that you were in this crazy market that we've had for the last 2.5 years, 3 years. So again, it's time over task, time on task over time. Okay, so here's some more questions. You got to write stuff down here. Where are you today? How many transactions are you currently averaging? You can do a month, you can do a year. How many transactions are you currently working on? Period. You don't have a year, if you haven't been in a month, if you don't have enough to look time over time. What are you currently working with? What are you currently juggling? How big is your rubber band? Are you able to do 1 transaction at a time, 2 transactions at a time, 3, 4, 5? How many currently are you able to work with? That's the first question. Second question to write down. What lead generations activities have you tried? There are probably over 100, probably closer to 1,000 different lead generation activities out there. What are the ones that you've tried? What did you like? Which ones didn't you like? Which ones don't you want to do again? How many names are in your database? That's a good one. If one of your lead generation activities is your database, that means that 10% of your database year over year should do business with you. So if you have 700 in your database, that means that you will be closing 7 deals. 70 deals? 70 deals. No, 7 deals. I can't do math. 7 or 70 deals from your database a year. But that's only if you do the time on task over time of working your database. How often do you touch the contacts in your database? Because if you have 7 in your database, you can, and you're not touching them consistently, you're not going to get those 70 deals that they tell you you should. So how many contacts in your database? How many of those contacts are you touching on a regular basis? And then it gets a little scary here when people start looking at this. How many hours do you currently spend on lead generation? You can do a day or you can do a week. I know personally, I'm not super consistent day over day, but week over week, I stay consistent. I make sure that I have my time every week done before I leave. And what would you change about your current lead generation activities after answering these last couple questions? So I'll give you guys a little bit of time to think about this, write down what these are. Because these are pretty important to think about prior to moving forward. Because if you are doing lead generation and you don't like what you're doing for lead generation, then you're not going to continue doing it. So think about that for a little bit. I'll give you guys, we'll say 2 more minutes, 3 more minutes. Anybody have any question about these questions?
I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
So you have a hobby that introduces you to a lot of folks, horseback riding, right? I've got a similar sort of thing. It's giant pumpkin growing. Well, a lot of my contacts, and I've put these folks in my database, but a lot of these contacts I have, they're out of state or they're, in somewhat of a far-flung area of Pennsylvania, or they're not in this market right here. I'm curious whether I should be reaching out to those folks. How often? How valuable of a thing is that to do? How much would they just get annoyed and ask me to take them off their list or off my list?
That's a great question.
Can I jump in?
Go ahead, but can you hear Bob? He's talking.
I work for a company. I have a lot of people I know that live out in Milwaukee, out in Wisconsin. I've actually contacted a number of those people, just let them know that I'm in real estate. And I've gotten, out of the 10 or 20 people, I have gotten about 2 people, 3 people that said, hey, yeah, we are looking. So I've actually sent referral requests for people, for agents out there. I told them, I said, hey, let me help you find an agent somewhere. I have another guy that's looking to move to North Carolina, and I've reached out to some agents down there for referrals. So, yeah, I mean, it's, you know, at least it's
That's
something.
awesome. Yeah, I
That's-
hadn't thought about that, leveraging those contacts to get referral commission. That's a great idea.
That's huge because the referral commission is truly free for you. Because you don't have to do any of the back end work for it. So yes, the answer to your question of whether you want to be touching those people and staying in touch with them, the answer is yes. Because they will sell. Go ahead, Phil.
For an out of area, how often would you touch compared to like a local person?
Same amount of time.
You do the same amount?
Yep, I do the same amount of lead generation to those people and follow up. So what's super nice about Command with all of this stuff is they have the neighborhood nurture. So no matter where they are in the whole country, you can send them the neighborhood nurture, and it's going to send them the neighborhood nurture and the information about where they're currently located, not where you are, where they are. So you are networking and lead generating to them in their current location, not to the local. So you can be the local source of information for them, even though you're not local. It's worth it. It's very worth it. Anybody else? Does anybody want to share any of their answers here? How much lead gen activity do you actually do every day?
I do about 5 hours.
5 hours? Okay. So that goes back. That's awesome. And I'm gonna take us back to this slide here. And you want to watch. So you have your goals, you have your activities. Have you measured the results of your activities? Okay. So then you want to evaluate and make adjustments. So is that 5 hours leading to your goals for the day? So if they are, then you're good to go. You know that 5 hours of what you're currently doing is going to lead you to what you want to get to. So this is just your accountability loop. So the activities would be your 3 hours, yeah, or 5 hours. So go ahead.
When you measure results, what priorities are you measuring?
So those are your numbers. So how many calls do you make? How many conversations do you have from those phone calls? How many of those calls are actually netting you conversations that yes, we're sending lenders, or yes, we're interested in a listing? So calls, conversations, appointments. How many appointments are netting you under contracts? Yeah.
Source.
And correct. Yeah. Yep. So you want your source, your how many leads to conversions. So conversion, how many conversations lead to a conversation, your conversation to an appointment, your appointment to an under contract, your under contract to close. So there are 5 key metrics that you want to be following. Did I miss any there? Okay. That's okay. Okay, so 3 hours a day. It all begins with a high achiever habit, the habit of lead generating 3 hours per day every weekday. More than 150 successful agents interviewed their lead generation habits. Time block your 3 hours before noon when possible. Okay. So why do you think it's before noon?
do what you-
Eat the frog, do what you don't like to do at the beginning of the day.
Yep.
When do you think your brain is the most active and comfortable doing new things?
Morning.
In the morning. You're more active, you get better results in the morning. So-
Haven't had the data. Fog it up yet.
And you don't get bogged down.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
by the end of the day. it's-
Don't get bogged down with everything else that happens during the day. The kids are still in school. You don't have a million things that you have to be dealing with. Get it done early. I like what Mindy said, eat the frog. 3 hours a day, you're going to get really good at lead generation over time. Stretching that rubber band. Start small, take little bites, and then you can get better and better at it. Make your 3-hour commitment a part of your daily routine, like brewing your coffee. How do you like Jama Fontaine's Java plant? Anybody know what that is? Okay, I have no idea. Adopt a new attitude. I am a lead generator before anything else and above everything else. That's an affirmation. Yep. You have to be affirmative with yourself and know what you're planning on doing. Do you want me to? 3-hour lead generation rules. Time block 3 hours every workday before noon. No skipping. If you must replace, or if you must erase, you must replace. So like today, I'm probably not going to get my 3 hours of lead generation in today, which means that tomorrow I'm going to be doing more than 3 hours of lead generation. And allowing no interruptions. I know earlier that I talked about being bunkered. You want to bunker yourself, close your door, lock yourself away, put a sign on the door, stop, lead generation in progress, do not enter. You want to make sure that you have everything so you don't have to get up and go and do something. So I tend to suck down water like it's nobody's business. So I have 3 bottles of water at my desk when I'm doing my lead generation because I don't want to have to get up and go fill one up because I know within an hour I will be going up and filling one up. Same, if you're a snacker, have your snacks. Have everything right there and then for you. Let everyone know your schedule so they will respect it. I don't know how many of you guys actually went to the old office we were, but I used to put my weekly schedule outside my door. So people knew when they could come into my office. Unfortunately, that didn't stop them, but it at least stopped some. Treat the time like any other appointment, no interruptions. If you thought about your lead generation as the motor that's running your business, how many of you would actually allow that time, that motor to be shut off by somebody else? If that knock on your door at 11 a.m. during your lead generation time with somebody with a question meant you turning off the engine of your business and you stepping away from making $200,000 to go answer somebody else's question, would you actually do that? Would you actually answer somebody else's question if it was going to cost you $200,000? No, right?
We were down for franchise systems orientation.
FSO.
And so Gary was talking that I had someone come by my door and knock on the door and say, Gary, do you have a minute? And he said, no, why do you?
There you go.
And he went back to the-
If somebody knocks on your door or shoots you a text and says, do you have a minute? Say, no, why do you? Interesting, I like that.
schedule.
Sorry, Bob.
Gary's very focused.
The discipline is just a habit. A habit gets created. You have to stretch that rubber band. Remove your distractions. Tie the effort to the outcome. So lead generation is boring, but what is $200,000? Is that boring? Phil, if I told you I would give you $200,000 to juggle 3 hours every day for a year. Would you do it?
Hours a day.
Yeah.
Only do the cycle.
You said yes on a unicycle. So you have to think of lead generation like that. Do you want $200,000? Then do your lead generation. Somebody else is handing you money to do the lead generation. That's pretty much what's happening. Predictable effort. You're going to take 3 hours. That's boring. Predictable outcome are your leads, closing business, and your income. Income is exciting. We get to do fun stuff with income. So look at it as 3 hours every day of boring gets you excitement down the road. It's hard for this generation, my generation. We're used to everything coming right now. You have to take time with this, time on task over time. Nets income. Work with going back to not being able to talk. Work with focus. Can you really multitask? This is interesting. Definition of focusing. What do you guys think about that? If you're multitasking during your lead generation and you're multitasking on 4 different things, how long do you have to lead generate? 12 hours. So if you're focused on 2 different things during your lead generation, one's lead generating, one's looking at your email. How long do you have to actually lead generate that day? 6 hours. Interesting, right? Didn't think about it like that.
See, for me, I'm ADD, so I have to break them down.
Yep,
Otherwise,
that's how I do too. Okay. Multitasking versus priority tasking. Let's have 2 volunteers for this demonstration. Cool. We're just going to talk about this one because I don't know what the demonstration is. Multitasking versus priority tasking. So what is your number 1 priority? Somebody online, tell me what the number 1 priority for your business is.
Lead generation.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. What are those other, that's your top 20% that leads to 80% of the things, the accomplishments you get. What is something in the lower 80% that you do every day that does not lead to the top things? Organizing files, paperwork, emails, Facebook, distractions.
I try to take some time to read industry news just to stay knowledgeable about things. I think that helps build your validity, your credibility when you talk to people. But at the same time, that takes a lot of time out of your day and it doesn't actually generate a lead.
Correct.
You don't get an appointment out of reading an article, even though it does have some payoff. It's valuable to have industry knowledge, but it's not generating business in itself.
Yep, you're very right. So those are the things that are multitasking, that you're trying to multitask over the priority tasking. So if you want to multitask, you're more than welcome to multitask. Do it in the afternoon. Do it when you're not in your lead generation time. Break up your lead generation time. If you can't do it all in the morning, I am the perfect example of that. I don't do my lead generation in the morning because I have so many fires that are coming in. I have agents that need help. I have classes to teach. I tend to do my lead generation time in the evenings or later in the day when nobody's in the office. I'll do it when I know I can bunker. But I also then multitask. Like the 5 minutes before I jumped on here, I was multitasking. I was hooking up the TV and my computer. I was printing out copies of things. I was answering questions because somebody was running around with a check that was apparently wrong. So having to do, answering Mindy's text messages. So there's a lot of different things, but you want to make sure that that priority tasking of lead generation has a bunker. You want to bunker it because that's your engine for your business. Okay, so work with intensity. Focus plus intensity equals results. Do you know how to channel and apply the intensity required to see the results you want? So this goes back to, you can do 3 hours of lead generation, but if you're not getting the results that lead to the goals during that 3 hours, you're not doing 3 hours of lead generation. You need to figure out how many calls you have to make to get somebody under contract. How many calls you have to make a conversation. How many conversations you need before somebody goes under contract. Those are the numbers. And then you need to figure out how many calls you have to do to be able to get the results that you want. So does that take 3 hours? Does that take 5 hours? Does it take 2 hours? I don't know. Every person's different. So that's why they say your numbers are important, because your numbers lead to the results and lead to your time management. Think about the intensity surgeons bring to their work, gymnasts to their sports, gamers to their play, painters to their art. Are you bringing that same intensity to your phone calls, to your lead generation? Okay. What does intensity look like for you? Think about an aspect of your life that requires intensity. Make notes about the environment, your behavior, emotions, thoughts, triggers. Does anybody have a trigger? Bill, what's your trigger? You have a few of them. Anybody else have a trigger that they know? What are the triggers that either keep you in your intense mindset of doing one thing, or what are the triggers that take you out of it? So I know personally a trigger for me is when I'm doing lead generation and my phone goes off. So I have actually been thinking about getting a desk phone, because I can sit down and I can call people. That's my lead generation time. And I can throw my phone 4 doors down. But if I am lead generating on my phone and all of a sudden a text message comes in, I'm like, oh, I got to answer the text message. That's a trigger. Yeah.
So when you're lead generating, it's purely like outbound and new people. It's not like you're spotting.
For me.
Yeah.
So for me, lead generation is calling people that I've never talked to, or going to networking events where I've never having a conversation with somebody that I've never talked to before. Follow up is that replying to a text message, is that following up with my clients that are already under buyer's agreement, under contract, stuff like that. So I have a specific time that I do lead generation versus follow-up. So my lead generation is different than my follow-up time. So I tend not to be on the computer or be on my, well, I have to be on my phone because I don't have a desk phone yet, but I tend not to be on the computer because that's another trigger for me. If you have your notifications that pop up on your computer, that's generally a trigger. If you can open Facebook up, that's generally a trigger, because a lot of people get bored, say, oh, I'm talking to somebody, it's a really boring conversation, I'm going to go multitask and do something else. So I tend not to have my computer up and running. I have a notebook. I go everywhere with my notebook, and I'm actually kind of panicked right now because I don't know where it is. But everything is in my notebook. So then at the end of the day, or if I have somebody else, I'll take a picture and they'll throw in the notes into my database. I keep the distractions at a minimum. Yeah. Bunker yourself. What triggers do you have?
Transaction,
TC stuff? Buyers?
clients.
So something that I find, and this might be helpful for a lot of people. So like I'm looking around, your phone is up, your phone's upside down. You're on your phone's upside down. Your phone is facing up. I always, when I'm focused on something, when I'm teaching, when I'm in a networking event, my phone is upside down on the table. I can still hear it if it goes off, but I do not see it. If I don't know who's contacting me, I don't worry about it so much. Like if I'm in a really important meeting, I'll put it on do not disturb. That way I don't look at it until after. I have my time. My time right now is to be teaching you guys. My time right now is not to be doing my follow-up. So it goes back to that, this definition of focused. Am I focused on teaching or am I focused on follow-up? Because if I'm doing both, it's going to take us 4 hours to get through this class. I respect your time and my time a little bit too much to double how long it takes. Anybody else have any triggers they want to share?
I feel like as parents, the kids and I think like a lot of people with their cell phones is, I don't have any kids, or I don't have a wife or significant other, or whatever it may be. Like they're, oh, who said that?
Yep.
Somebody else did
So,
say
yep,
that.
she was just saying
That is
in the
hilarious.
office that kids are her triggers. So kids, kids very much are triggers. And that's where it comes down to, you have to make sure that your kids understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. If you allow me to do these phone calls over these next 2 hours, we can go to Disney. Or if you allow me to go to work and not bother me for the next half a day, it's going to lead to us being able to go do this. Yep. So that's something that it's super important. And you are teaching, by doing that, you're teaching your kids that it is important to be doing what you're doing and not multitasking. Because if you're giving your kids the time when they demand it, they're going to expect everything right away and not understand what they're interrupting in the long term.
I think a lot of people look at what we do as a hobby.
Yeah, it's looked at as a
They don't
hobby.
respect
Our time is
Stop
not
and
respected.
They'll come in and say, what are we gonna do today? And I am working.
Yep, you have to make it clear. This is not a hobby. This is your job. My parents are the same way. When I lived at home, they were like, hey, what are you doing today? My dad is now retired and wants to take me golfing. He's like, what are you doing Tuesday? Let's go golfing. I'm like, I am working. He's like, you can take a day off. I'm like, no, I can't take a day off. Like, this is my job. Yes, I am the business owner, but if I take a day off, that means that I'm going to be taking $36,000 out of the amount of money that I'm bringing in at the end of the year. Yeah. So.
Kids, I forget where it was, I picked it up, but they say to set a goal for the family, like say it's going to Disney, and then take a picture of Magic Kingdom, cut it down into the number of transactions you need to have. And when you have a transaction, the kid can put that on that piece of the puzzle. And when you get
There you go.
24, well,
So
whatever.
Mindy is saying that make the goal not just for you, but for your whole family. And then cut out a picture. So if it's Disney, cut out a picture of Disney, and then underneath it, put a little blocks down, kind of like an advent calendar. How many transactions does it take us to get to Disney? Then every time you have a transaction that's getting you closer, give it to your kids to put up on there. I can guarantee you that every day when you come home from work, they're gonna say, did we get another transaction? What are you doing? Why didn't we get there? There you go. I like it. I think I'll do that to my parents. Palm Beach. Okay. How will you bring this same focus and degree of intensity to your 3 hours of lead generation every day? Okay, so I want different question here for you guys. What are you going to change after having this conversation today? What is something that you're going to change in what you do? Go ahead.
This phone calls really inspired me because sometimes I have apprehension that I'm quote unquote bothering them. But what I'm being told is like, hey, they actually want our services.
Yep.
Some people are phobic, and just confidence to someone shows it. I think as an agent, I'm showing you, hey, I'm diligent.
Yep.
I'm there for you. I'm going to consistency. If I'm doing this towards you, making my client, what am I going to do for you that you desire?
Yep. So she said that when we talked earlier this morning about how it takes 12 phone calls to have somebody pick up, and that other people are phonophobic.
They don't like talking on the phone.
Yeah.
They like texting.
I totally just lost my train of thought. Some people are phonophobic, so it takes them 12 times to be able to pick up. It doesn't mean that they don't want to talk to you or they don't care. It shows that you're actually doing your job. What else? Somebody else have something that they're going to change after today?
I mean, I'm always personally trying to be more block schedule oriented.
Block
So,
scheduling.
for me, that's probably my biggest, because I definitely multitask.
It's tough. It is super tough. It's just been probably the last, so I've been time blocking for my coach for probably 6 to 8 months now. And I will say I'm just the point now where if I don't do my time block for the week, I panic because I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. It keeps me on track. And I've just recently started putting it in my phone calendar. So that way I get notifications I'm supposed to be on my email right now. I'm like, okay, switch to my email. You're supposed to be doing lead generation right now. Switch to lead generation. How about one person online? What's one thing that they're going to change after today?
Well, I think I'm going to reevaluate and see, what's been working for me as far as lead generation, track my metrics, and then pivot if I have to.
I love it.
I think that's very important. I learned that after, the first year at the end, towards the end of the fall, I tracked my metrics and I found out what was beneficial, what wasn't. And, it really did give me clarity on where I should focus more of my attention. And I think now being midway through the year, and especially with the change in the market, it's a good thing for me right now. So I think I'm going to try that
So important.
metrics and make some adjustments as far as lead generating.
Great. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Whoops. Sorry. Oh. Prepare, take action, maintain. I don't know how many more times I'm going to pound the same thing into your head over the 2 hours. You've got to get into action. If you spend 3 hours a day on the MLS or tinkering with your database, you are not actually lead generating. You're taking yourself or you're kidding yourself and you're treating your business like a hobby. Okay. Anatomy of 3 hours. Lead generation is what is both prospecting, seeking, and marketing, attracting business. What will you prepare, take action, and maintain activities if you're prospecting your business? What will be your prepare, take action, maintain activities if you are marketing for your business? Are they different?
Yeah.
Is it different when you're seeking leads versus when you're attracting leads? Are you going to do something different when you're phone calling versus being at an open house? Right? They're different. Roller coaster. I think we're actually going really slow. Agony and the ecstasy. How many of you guys feel this? Bad. Caution, inconsistent lead generation leads to real estate productivity roller coaster. Mindy said it's the bipolar express. You must consistently lead generate while you are servicing the leads you have. So this goes back to juggling. You have to juggle. As an individual agent without a admin or without TC, you have to be juggling your TC, your current buyers and sellers, and lead generation all at the same time. So do you have time in your day scheduled for all 3 of those items? And when are you allowed to get rid of one of them? When are you allowed to get rid of TC? When are you allowed to get rid of working with buyers? What is the goal? Why are you able to do what you're doing? Or when? Okay. Get off that roller coaster. Do your steady lead generation, 3 hours a day, every morning. Just do it. It's easy. Just do it. What else is here? Who's on an iPhone, by the way? Okay. Gary, do you have enough leads that if you close them properly, you'd be reaching your goals? You know what to do. Now go do it. Go lead generate. So how many, you said 36 transactions. If you just go based on your database, you would only need 360 people in your database that you are constantly touching base with. Does everybody here have 360 people in their database? That's 36 transactions. Bob's looking at me like crazy. 10% of your database should be closing with you every year. You should be able to close either a sphere or a referral off of your database every single year. 10%. Oh, Nicole, thank you. I'm just writing everybody that's here down. Bruce Hardy. He got back to the basics of lead generation on a daily basis. He listened to the wake-up call and got remotivated. Get those 36 transaction guys. They're just sitting there waiting for you. Just have to go and do the boring to be able to get there. Do what's boring to be able to get the 200,000. It's not boring. Continuous lead generation. It's the difference between seeing lead generations as a set of single activities or events and seeing it as a discipline or as a mindset. So do you have a mindset every day to come into work and do lead generation? If you don't, what are you coming into work to do? Because lead generation is the only thing that is running that engine that is moving that business forward. Market shifts should not have much of an impact on your lead generation program unless that is, you don't have one. And this goes back to the top 5 forms of lead generation. If you have 3 forms of lead generation that's working really well in one market, so this goes back to the 07, 08, 09 crash. A lot of people did REOs. Well, all of a sudden the REO market totally dried up. They no longer had that form of lead generation, but because they had 2 other forms waiting in the wings that they knew were good, they could just move them forward and try to find another one in the wings on the bench. Okay. We're in a shift right now. So not all lead generation forms are probably going to be working right now. You got to figure out which ones work the best for you and just do them. Wired to win, wired for leads. Are you wired to win? John Maxwell, how people see failure and deal with it, whether they possess the ability to look beyond it or keep achieving, impacts every aspect of their lives. Being wired to win means putting failure in perspective and adapting a mindset of achievement and success. So 3 hours a day, guys, you have 24 hours in a day. If you can take 3 hours of them and lead generate to get the results you want, you're going to have 36 transactions and you're going to make over $200,000. How many other businesses can I tell you to work 3 hours a day and you get 36 transactions for a total of 200,000? Not many, right? A successful sales career is almost always defined by a long succession of no's before you ultimately get to the yes. They say this. One of my favorite books, and one of the books that I was given when I first started in real estate, was the book Go for No. It is maybe about 30 pages long. It's the easiest read, and it is the best book that I've ever read to get my mind in the correct position to do real estate. Because I was one of those people that said, I hate talking on the phone. I don't want to call somebody. They don't want me to call them. Like, what's the point? What is the point of calling them? They'll reach out to me if they're interested. No, that's not the case. That's one of those myths we talked about. In the discipline of lead generation, winning is having a rich pipeline of qualified buyers and sellers leads that are constantly working with. Wired to win in real estate equals wired for leads. Continue to do that, continues to move your machine forward, your business forward. The more you do it, the more your rubber band stretches and the more business you can get. The Millionaire Real Estate Agent tells us that we are in 2 businesses, the real estate business and the lead generation business. Which one are you focused on? Your job is to be a lead generator because you can't be a realtor without a lead generator. Is your definition of lead generation holding you back? What does it mean? Limiting beliefs. Lead generation equals prospecting. Cold calls equals rejection. Unlimiting beliefs. Lead generation equals business relationship building, equals opportunity, equals financial independence. Ties it back into the money. Got to look at the positives. What you're doing is going to bring you something positive in the end. 4 goals of lead generation. And this is good because we talk about lead generation, but we don't talk about the end prospect of it, except the larger aspect. And a lot of people need to stay very granular. So when you pick up the phone, when you talk to somebody, what is your goal? Your goal is to get an appointment, get them under contract, or get a referral, right? So like Thomas asked earlier, like Bob said, your goal to talk to your clients that are not in your local area is for them to say, yes, we are interested in buying or selling. Your job then is to find them a referral partner and connect the two. That's it. How easy is that? Hey guys, I know somebody that's in your area. That's awesome. I've worked with them a couple times now. They've taken really good care of everybody. If you ever need any help, please let me know. I'm happy to connect you. Is that easier than selling something? Maybe that's the way you want to do your business. There are a lot of businesses out there that are just referral based. What do you think Zillow is? What do you think Realtor.com, Opcity? All of those are just referral based companies. You can do the same thing, make the same amount of money they are. Number 3, build a relationship for future business and referrals. That's your networking. Number 4 is increase your METs. That's your sphere. People that you've worked with in the past that are interested in giving you business. Those are 4 goals of lead generation. Increase your METs, get a referral, build your relationships, or get the appointment. Those are the only things that you are aiming for during your 3 hours of lead generation. Where do you find leads? Leads are everywhere and ready for the picking. I don't go after them, someone else will. You need to know that. If you're not going to be talking to them, if you're not going to call them 12 times, you might as well not even think about it because somebody else is going to be willing to call them 12 times. In a large group of adults, approximately 8 to 12% will need a real estate agent this year. What is the relationship opportunity here? Buyer, seller, future consumer, referral source. Dick Dillingham. Who will I find today? He's going to be the next entry in my database. Somebody that I like to talk to is when you're at the grocery store, the person checking you out. They always love to talk about real estate every single time. Training, implementation, and accountability. Together, training, implementation, and accountability will move your career to the next level. This goes back to the accountability circle we saw at the very beginning. The results, you need to find the goals, results, activities, and then look at them. Attend your 36-12-3 training. This is just the start, guys. If you think that this, if you've gotten a lot out of today, you're going to get a massive amount out of the rest of this class. Get out and implement what you have learned. Beginning tomorrow morning, commit to 3 hours of lead generation every workday. Start today. Why not start today? Don't wait till tomorrow. Today's the first day of the work week. Do it today. Get into an accountability relationship to help you measure results and continue to build greater skills and habits. Find an accountability partner, somebody that you're actually going to be accountable to. That you, and you were saying kids are distractions, kids are great accountability partners. If they want to go to Disney and they know how much money mom has to make or dad has to make before they can go to Disney, every day they're going to ask you. And then they become part of it. So here's the history of lead generation training. Started with Zig Ziglar, then it moved to Tom Hopkins and Roger Butcher, to Mike Ferry, Floyd Wickerman, Danielle Kennedy, Pat Zabey, Don Hobbs, Greg Herder, and Howard Brinton, Brian Buffini, Joe Stumpf, Craig Proctor, Alan Hange, and Michael Russer, and then Keller Williams. Have a productive mindset, master scripts and dialogues, focus on prospecting and presentation, focus on listening, build a farm, build a database, market yourself, build a referral business, use direct response mailing, get on the internet, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, super important right now. Keller Williams, they're all right. Now treat it like a business and add leverage when appropriate. So we have built the foundation today. The power of one. What is the one thing that you have to do to move your business forward? What is the one thing that you have to do before you can validate and position yourself? Lead generate. Yep. Very true. So again, we're building the building blocks here today. Foundation, introducing the power of one. Power session 1 is building validity, oh my God, validity and positioning. Power session 2 next week is prospecting and marketing. And then following week is leverage of a powerful contact database. Then we have the tactics, how to do that. So we have working with your Mets, farming, open houses for sale by owners and expireds, and then agent to agent referrals, which is my favorite. And then essential support sessions, lead conversion. How do you actually talk to leads to be able to get them closed? And then the final one is the crowning session, living your goals. Implementation of lead generation 36-12-3. Carl Royce. The biggest mistake I make was that I tried to do everything. I spent way too much money, way too much time. My career doesn't take off like it should have. And here it is. Select up to three lead generation approaches to implement. Assess your success, then add it to or modify your plan. So it goes back. Hold it accountable. Needs to be accountable to you to be able to get the results that you want, to be able to get the goals that you need. Smokey Garrett, if you have a day where you've had a closing, it's not for anything you did on that day. It's a result of your earlier lead generation habits. Are they there? Did you continue to do them on the day of closing? Remember, time block 3 hours every day. True success is a function of time on task over time. It gets boring. Immediate implement what you learned from 36-12-3 training. Start the very next morning. Start this afternoon. If it's to be, it's up to thee. If it's more you want, be accountable to me. Find an accountability partner. Meet in regular 30 to 60-minute sessions. Be held accountable to your training or your 3-hour daily habits, your lead generation activities, and your productivity goals. Putting it all together. Truth. Do the right continuous lead generation activities now, and business will ultimately show up and continue showing up. How much was it for 36 transactions? We do 3 hours a day of lead generation, true lead generation. Leads us to 36 transactions. How much money would you guys make by next June? 200,000. Who wouldn't like 200,000? Lead generation activity plans. What are your current numbers? What's your future goal? What is to close the gap? Time block. No skipping. If you erase, you must replace. Bunker yourselves. What are we going to do today to change after we've had this class? Anything?
I'm gonna look at my lead generation methods.
There you go. Lead generation, reevaluate lead generation methods. Time block. 12 calls. Yep. Yep.
Call me on. Okay. Have a good day.
Yep. Anything else? Anybody online? What are we implementing? What did we learn? What are some ahas?
Time blocking and reducing distractions.
Bunker.
Yeah, I'm bunkered with 5 dogs. I think I might just start going to the office more often just so I can be focused.
There you go. There are a lot of people that do that. I do that. Very much so. Who else?
I probably need to get more bunker running personal prospecting.
Okay.
With the team, it's just like there's all distractions from my prospecting, you know.
Get rid of distractions.
You know, start finding the right.
I understand that a lot. And you know what? Sometimes, Phil, I go out in the car.
Yeah.
That's how bad.
My rabbit hole I went down whenever you called me and I had no idea what we were talking about. Was I was going into the multi-year trends, which aren't up because today is profit share day, so they're updating things. So I went back in my files and I found my And then I was generating that. So I'm
Good.
putting 3,000.
There you go. 300,000. Do you know what your average sales commission is? If you do 36, what are you going to be making?
Should be a way to find it, it's right, but I went through that too and I couldn't find it. I thought, with the multi-year
Mine's 7,600. Anybody else? Any more ahas? You guys are awfully quiet online. Kristen. Oh no, Nicole. Was it Nicole who said about the kids? Bring them into your goals. How can you make it relevant for them to allow you to do what you're supposed to be doing? Thomas said to go into the office. Anybody else? Otherwise, I'll let you guys go. We'll see you Thursday. Okay. Have a good one, you guys.
Goodbye.
Thanks, Kate.
Thank you, Katie.
Of course. Have a good one.
Speaking of,